Good afternoon, Good News Baptist and First Baptist family, and to everyone who's watching this video. We want to welcome you to our Take 5 for this week. We are talking about finding joy in uncertain times. And from our message on Sunday, we talk about Paul's message to the Philippians in Philippians chapter 1, verse 12 to 19, where he talked about finding joy in the furtherance of the gospel. And how did Paul do that? He used the basic principle of joy by overcoming his circumstances. Now, how do you maintain your joy in your circumstances that are less than ideal? It is a relevant question for many of us right now. Over the past 6 months, coronavirus has altered the normal pattern of life for many, whether we've been directly affected or not. And apart from the virus, many things are going on in our personal lives. Maybe illnesses, cancer, death in the family, marital issues, and so forth. Like the Philippines believer, they knew the circumstances that Paul was facing were not good. But Paul responded to the concern, letting them know how things were going with him. And in doing so, he does not focus on his circumstances. He rather focused on what God was doing as the result of his circumstances. You see, when our circumstances overcome us, it means that we are more focused on those circumstances. Now, if we are overwhelmed by these circumstances that we are faced with, we might complain. Yes. We might even try to find a shoulder to cry on. We might even seek advice on how to deal with these things. We might even ask for prayers. All those responses are common among people, even Christians. But there's a better way that Paul shows us by his response. You see, Paul does not overlook his hard circumstances that he was going through. Paul was in praising. He let the believers know what was going on. While in praising, he even informed them that there were other brethren, believers, his enemy with selfish ambition and evil tried to cause Paul additional stress in his imprisonment. But Paul is not overcome by these circumstances. He does not dwell on these circumstances. Instead, he is overcoming them by focusing on what God was doing in the midst of them. In this case, the gospel was being spread. Now, circumstances, whether bad or good, when they are joined with godly motives or godly perspective, it will result into rejoicing. And we see how Paul rejoiced in his circumstances because of what God was doing due to his circumstances he found himself going through. And while they may seem like an unattainable level of Christian maturity to some, it is also actually only living truth that Paul, and even in the book of Romans chapter 8, verse 28, says that all things work together for good to them that love the Lord and are called according to your purpose. And even the book of James chapter 1, verse 2, James said, my brethren, count it all joy when you are faced with various trials. Because guess what? God used these trials, these situations, to mature us into godly people. Now I want to speak to you out there this afternoon. Whatever you may be going through, whatever your circumstances are, do not focus on the circumstances is there, but focus on what God can do through the circumstances that God's name can be glorified. Like Paul, he did not complain. He did not ask God, why you allow me to go through such? But he trusted God, what God was doing as the result of his circumstances. And that's why I want to admonish you tonight that trust God in your circumstances, look to him, and he will see you through. We want to bless God for this time, and we're going to come back again, going forward and see how God used Paul's circumstances and why Paul was more joyful in his circumstances. God bless you.